Hi, my name is Melette Meloy, and I'm an occupational audiologist. I've been working with industry for about 30 years, looking at occupational hearing losses and working with OSHA inspectors, workers' comp attorneys, but mostly I do a lot of consulting to companies to help them decide what to do with people who have hearing losses in their workplace. And I find a lot of differences between companies, so I'm not speaking to anyone in particular, but I want to give you some general information about a specific item in the program that I find a lot of times is lacking. One thing that we do when we're working with occupational noise is to think about noise all the time. It's like noise, noise, noise. That's all. We have our little noise blinders on, and every hearing loss we see, we're like, oh, it must be noise. And then we get into this big argument about, was the noise exposure at home or was it at work? People don't want to take recordables, so they always want it to be at home. And we forget what's actually going on with that person, and that our job is hearing conservation. You're not really here to learn hearing testing, you're here to learn hearing conservation, which is a whole program of conserving people's hearing. So one thing that gets left out of some programs are the medical issues that people face that can cause hearing loss. One of my favorite sayings is, your ears are in your head and they are hooked onto your brain. Because I get told all the time, well, it's just a hearing loss and there's nothing I can do about it, I'm just getting old. That's not necessarily true, because sometimes there's things going on inside the head that can be causing a hearing loss that are a big red flag. So in your program, you always have to have a method of medical referral and what you're going to do about following up with those people who have some kind of a medical hearing loss. Now, it's not the company's responsibility to pay for those hearing losses, but it is their responsibility to let the person know you need to see your doctor about hearing loss. One of the main things that is very, very critical that we always follow up on is what we call asymmetrical hearing loss. And you have a page in your book, it's page 79, and it shows asymmetrical hearing loss. And really, all that means is that one ear hears much, much better than the other ear. Now, in a situation where a person has asymmetrical hearing loss, they don't just have something wrong in their head, they have something wrong with half of their head. Only one ear is being affected by whatever is causing this hearing loss. And that can be some really, really serious things. Therefore, these types of hearing losses should always, always, always be diagnosed. You see in your book it says always in great big bold capital letters, because a lot of these people slip through the cracks, and then 5 years later we find out they have something serious and they were never referred. So I just want to caution you, if you don't refer them, then down the road, if there's a comp case, you're going to get asked about why you never referred this person and told them they had a problem with their hearing. So with asymmetrical hearing loss, probably the most critical thing that could be causing that is a tumor. We call it an acoustic neuroma. It's on the eighth cranial nerve, and it is a brain tumor. They are very slow growing, but if left untreated over many, many years, they can be fatal. So always when a person has this type of hearing loss that you see on your page, you want to be sure that you are referring them. And I've had lots and lots of people who have had a screening in the workplace tell me, I was referred by my hearing test, and I went to the doctor, and they found a tumor. So that's one thing that can be causing it. Another thing that could cause an asymmetrical hearing loss like this is some kind of disease going on in that ear. Again, a pretty significant medical problem if it's causing this kind of hearing loss. We also find this type of hearing loss in people who have had some kind of blow to the side of the head. Like, I will see people, I used to work in an ENT's office, and I would see people who had come in after maybe 6-8 weeks after an accident, and maybe a car accident, a skiing accident, something like that, and say, you know, I'm noticing that I can't hear out of my left ear. Well, in all the trauma of having an accident, a lot of times the hearing gets overlooked, and the person doesn't notice until they've healed that, oh, I have this hearing loss. And a lot of times those can be corrected, but again, they always need to be referred. Now, there are a couple of types of noise that can cause hearing loss on one side, but it's very uncommon. Usually noise goes in both ears, so it's going to affect both hearing loss in both ears. But sometimes we do have a noise source on one side, like one of the most common ones that will cause asymmetrical hearing loss is shooting guns. Another one is if in the plant where they're working, the noise source is to one side. I went to a plant one time, all these people had hearing loss in their left ear. Well, there was this big generator sitting right here, and as they were working, all that high noise was just hitting one side of their head. So those obviously are not medical issues, but we can't assume. This is a screening program, you're doing screening testing. So when you see asymmetrical hearing loss and you see on the history, oh, this person shoots guns, that must be it, we can't assume that. And let me assure you, if you talk about something you know nothing about, an attorney will ask you how you got so smart. So you need to not assume when you see this, oh, he shoots guns, fine, you stick it in the drawer and you don't do anything. Some of you have software available to you that you put your hearing test into, and it will pop up medical referral. And that's a criteria from the AAO, American Academy of Otolaryngology, that says if you get these types of hearing tests, they're usually medically related. And always when you have asymmetrical hearing loss, that is going to pop up. Now, if you refer this person to the doctor and they get a diagnosis and you find out what's causing it, you don't have to refer them every single year unless it gets worse. But you do need to let them know something simple like, your hearing's a lot better in one ear than it is the other, and we recommend that you see your doctor about this. End of story. That's as much as you need to do with them. And then if they come back to you with a report, of course you can integrate that into their file. That kind of follow-up gets lost a lot too. So put it back in their file so later on, 10 years down the road, you know, oh yeah, he went to the doctor, he had mumps when he was a child. That's what caused this. So also on page 79, you will see right above your graph that it actually has the definition of asymmetrical. Not every teeny tiny little difference is going to be considered for referral. If you have more than 15 dB difference at 500, 1000, and 2000, or more than a 30 dB difference at 3000, 4000, and 6000, then that person would be considered for referral. And again, it says what I just told you right on page 79, so you can mark that for later on back in your workplace. Another thing that can happen with asymmetrical hearing loss is when you're testing them, sometimes the sound coming through the earphone can cross over to the other ear if it gets loud enough. In other words, you have normal hearing over here, you have a big hearing loss over here, so the sound when you're testing, the beeps are getting louder, 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 and eventually they cross over here and the person starts responding falsely, because they're actually hearing it in their good ear, but still not hearing it in this ear. So you can also have a problem with testing, and that's why they need referred someplace that they can get a diagnostic type test. So I hope this was helpful to you. You can ask Steve any questions you might have about asymmetrical hearing loss, or my email address is on the front of your book and your manual, and you're welcome to email me with any questions. Thank you, and have a great class.